Hi, guys. Welcome to your energy expenditure versus energy intake notes. So get ready to take some notes down. Again, I will always reiterate that these notes are for you guys to take. Any new learning should be taken down and noted. And if this is old learning for you, make sure you use it as a review or refresher. My guess is, though, for a majority of you guys, this is going to be new learning. So let's take a look. So, what are your basic energy needs? So, basically, when we eat foods, we use that energy in order to move our bodies, right? Or do stuff within our body. So, two types of movements. We have voluntary activity, which is basically your daily movement. So, you getting up out of bed, getting ready for the school day, moving around throughout your classes, all of those kinds of things would be your voluntarily daily movements. Your involuntary daily movements are typically things that are inside of your body. So, your digestion, your heart rate, your blood flowing, all of those things inside of your body that is out of your control. You have no way to control it. So we need to provide our body with some type of energy source. So that fuel comes from those nutrients. And remember, you use those nutrients back into the nutrition basics lecture. So your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fats, those are all the nutrients that you guys eat. And when you eat those and those foods go into your stomach and you start going through the process of digestion, we break those nutrients down and we get ATP. So those bio people out there, you've probably already learned a little bit about ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. So you can see that picture right here. My adenosine, my ribose sugar, and then tri for my 3 phosphates. And so there's only those 3 nutrients that we get energy from. And we outlined this in our nutrition lecture. Carbohydrates, that's our primary fuel. So we know our brain needs our carbohydrates. It's one of the first things that your body's going to crave when it's looking for any type of energy bump. Carbohydrates give us 4 calories per gram. Fat, I said, was your best source of long-term fuel storage. So we get 9 calories per gram out of our fat. And I gave you guys a little example of if you were starting a fire, your kindling and your paper, those are all going to be your carbohydrates, where your big logs and bigger sticks are going to be your fats. So they're going to burn for a longer period of time, where your carbohydrates will burn for a shorter period of time. Protein is your backup fuel source. We mainly like to use protein in order to make more muscle in our body and building things. We don't typically use protein as a fuel source, but obviously if there's no carbohydrates and fat available, we will tap into our protein. And so this little image right here too gives you an idea that if I eat my food, I get energy from it. I am able to move my body. So that's my mechanical energy. And I also get some heat. So we're not the most efficient human beings, and we produce a lot of heat in our body, in addition to moving it around. So those are kind of our basic energy needs. And we want to be able to have a good balance when it comes to energy. And so that's what's important when we talk about balance when it comes to you maintaining your weight or anyone maintaining your weight. So energy intake, the foods that we eat, and energy expended, how we move our bodies. That's what we talk about in terms of energy balance. And so we've got a negative energy balance and a positive energy balance. So if we're in a negative energy balance, it means the food that we've eaten in, okay, is going to be less than the energy that we expend. So let's say you're restricting the amount of calories that you're intaking and you're exercising more, you're going to end up losing weight. And so that's right here, this image. So we would call that a negative caloric balance. My energy in is less than my energy out. And so I'm going to lose some weight. Where a positive energy balance or a positive caloric balance would mean I'm eating a lot of food and I'm not moving my body so much. And so when that happens, you tend to gain weight. And so the scale is tipped the opposite way. So people looking forward to losing weight are going to decrease their calories and increase their movement. People looking to gain weight are going to increase their calories and reduce their movement. And on the other end, if you are happy with what you're doing and people want to maintain, you hear a lot of people talk about maintenance, you've got the same amount of calories in and going out. Now, this is just a snapshot in terms of maybe a day, but what you have to remember is that a lot of this energy balance occurs over weeks, months, years. So you might have a day where you're in a negative caloric balance, but then the next day you're in a positive caloric balance. And maybe by the end of the week, you're actually in that energy balance mind frame. And so there's no increase in weight or decrease in weight. So let's talk a little bit more about our energy intake and what we do with our stuff. So that energy intake is comes from the food that we eat. So looking at the back of those nutrition labels, those energy sources come from our calories, and they're listed as kcals on a lot of things. Our carbohydrates are listed in grams, proteins and fats are listed in grams as well. And so those are actual energy values that we're able to break down. So our fats, when we eat them, we not only use them as energy source, but we will store them in our adipose tissue. So if you're eating too much fat, your body's just going to convert that to fat that lines your organs and store it in all sorts of spots in your body. And your body can store an unlimited amount of fat. We've seen some people that are larger than others. They clearly are able to store more fat than other people. And so physical activity in general, moving our bodies, is going to encourage that burning of our dietary fat. So a lot of times if you're looking at some of those tracking devices, they might tell you that you're now in your fat burning zone. And so for a lot of people who are looking to reduce the amount of fat in their body, they're primarily concerned with maybe working out during that fat burning zone. Carbohydrates, remember, that's our primary fuel source. So your body's not going to hang on to it for very long. It doesn't like to store it. We like to use it as our first line of energy. But if you eat too many carbohydrates and you're in that positive caloric balance, you're not moving your body as much, your body will then take those carbohydrates and they'll convert them into fat, and then we'll store that extra fat throughout your body as well. Lastly, proteins. We've talked about how proteins aren't typically used as an energy source within the body. We use those to continually build some of our other tissues. But if it does come down to a point where you're doing some long-term energy expenditure, you might have to tap into some of those protein sources. And that excess is stored as fat as well. So just like our carbohydrates. So energy output is our next one. So anything that we're going to do to basically live our daily life. Okay. So any of your normal body functions that you have from the time you wake up and the time you go to bed, and even while you're sleeping, you're going to be sustaining some normal body functions. We're also going to use that energy to regulate our body temperature. Trying to maintain that 97, 98 degrees Fahrenheit takes some work, right? Our body has to provide that energy to keep our body at that same temperature. And then obviously being able to grow and repair. Some of you guys are done growing at this age. Some of you are still growing, but you're always growing hair and nails. If you get a cut, you're growing new tissues. Any type of injuries, if you're working out and you're weightlifting and you're breaking down those muscle fibers, you need to be able to repair those. And so we can break those down into 3 demands for energy, for the total body's requirements of energy. So the 3 different ones, and we'll talk about them briefly in the next slide, is our basal metabolic rate, or our BMR. And you guys will get an opportunity to calculate all of these as well, to figure out really on a deeper scale, how much energy are you actually expending throughout your day versus how much food you're intaking? Are you in that isometric effect? Are you in that negative or that positive caloric balance? The next one is the thermic effect of food. So when you eat your food and you start digesting it, you're going to have heat being produced. And your body needs energy to break down some of those food sources. And it's also going to release energy as it breaks down those food sources. And then the last one is your physical activity. So right here, TEE, or total energy expenditure, makes up your basal metabolic rate, the thermic effect of food, and then the physical activity that you do. So breaking it down even further, your basal metabolic rate is anything that's going on internally in your body, especially when we talk about your body at rest. So if you were just to lay around the house, which I'm sure some of you might do at times, there is a certain baseline of what your body needs just to function, okay? To keep your eyes open, to keep your brain engaged, to keep your heart rate going, your blood pumping, all of those. That would be your basal metabolic rate. And so that's going to vary from individual to individual. Some people have a higher basal metabolic rate than others, okay? It depends on your activity level, your age, your gender, all that kind of stuff. And then your thermic effect of food I talked about that's the energy required for digestion, okay, breaking down that food, absorption, taking that food, the nutrients from that food into your bloodstream, and then also disposal. We've got a lot of waste that are produced in our body, and we have to be able to get rid of it. So some of that energy is burned as heat. And so we give off heat. You might find maybe you're outside and it's cold out and you're really hungry, and you come in and you eat some food, and all of a sudden you're warm again, because that food will raise your body temperature, or will feel as if it's raising that body temperature. So only about 10% of our food ingested is going to have any effect on it. So there's a quick formula you can use to calculate it. There's lots of stuff on the internet you can do to put in. And it has to do with your weight, it has to do with your height and your age in order to get to your basal metabolic rate. And if we're talking more about the thermic effect of food, if we eat fat, 0 to 3% increase maybe in that body temperature, that overall. Carbohydrates give us about 5 to 10%, and proteins are 20 to 30%. So you may be wondering, okay, I've got all this information, but how can I maybe change some of those things, that energy requirement? So here's some factors that help you increase or decrease your metabolism. So ways that you can increase it, your height and your weight are going to be factors that will increase it. So the taller you are, the more energy requirements you're going to need in order to move stuff around your body, right? Your weight will come into a factor as well. Typically, the heavier you are, you may not have a really high metabolism. Some people that are a little bit smaller tend to have higher metabolisms. Your gender has an effect. Males burn more energy than females do. That typically has to do with their body size and the fact that males are made up of more muscles versus females. Your body temperature. So if you maintain a higher body temperature, your body's working harder to get there. Nervous system activity. So maybe your brain is engaged a lot more. And so you're going to need more energy to feed your brain. So think about that next time when you're like, I would rather just relax and watch TV and not do something to turn my brain on. Maybe you'll make a different choice, knowing that turning your brain on actually increases your metabolism. The amount of calories consumed. So a lot of times people, when they talk about calories consumed, they want to reduce the amount of calories that they take in because they think that that's going to help them lose weight. What ends up happening is your body doesn't know when its next meal is coming. And so it's going to try and hold on to all the calories that you possibly can. So keeping your body full of energy sources is going to tell your body, hey, I've got this food available, I can burn it. So keeping that constant supply, of calories into your body will help increase your metabolism. Pregnancy, you've got another little child inside of your belly, so that increases your metabolism a little bit. And then tobacco and caffeine will increase them temporarily, although I don't advise either one of those. Things that will decrease your metabolism: age. So each decade that you get older, you guys are all only in your second decade, you get a 2% drop. And so you might hear your parents or guardians complaining about the fact that it's harder and harder for them to lose weight. That has a huge effect as people get older. And so they might tend to eat a little bit smaller meals. Another way to decrease your metabolism is what I basically talked about for the amount of calories consumed is if you are on a restrictive low calorie diet, like I said, your body doesn't know when its next meal is going to come. So that will really, really mess with your metabolism. So being very careful when it comes to eating and how much you eat. Other ways, I know this is a little bit harder to see, but eating healthy fats, things that come from fishes, avocados, dark chocolate, olive oils, coconut oils, peanut butter, nuts, all of those healthy fats rev your metabolism. Eating smaller meals every 3 to 4 hours, you're delivering that nice high energy food source to your body, and your body's loving it, so they're going to want to burn it and use it. Drinking more water every single day, getting 8 hours of sleep. When you're sleep deprived, your body actually produces a hormone called ghrelin and leptin, and those are going to tell you, hey, you're really tired, but I'm going to send a signal instead that says that you're really hungry. And so you're going to end up eating more if you're sleep deprived. Avoiding those restrictive diets. So just like that low calorie diet starves your body. Eat more to lose weight. That goes back to the amount of calories you consumed. And then looking at some of these healthy food sources to go into your body that increases your metabolism. So that is pretty much it. You're going to get an opportunity to take some of these little nuggets of information, apply them to your own self, and kind of see where you're at. Are you in balance? Are you in negative? Or are you positive caloric balance? Thanks, guys.